Another day of good news, Natha. The figures of new infections continue to decline, and for 3 straight days now, we have single-digit infection. So that's very good news.
And no new fatalities today, so that's very good sign for Thailand. But as we've been stressing this point all the time, Kun Thepchai, we cannot say that the situation is under control, and we've been told times and again that we have to be vigilant and still keep our guard quite high in order to protect ourselves from COVID-19, even though it seems the situation seems a bit better, especially when we compare with last week or last month.
We certainly should take comfort from the fact that things are getting better. There's no question about that. But what makes medical authorities anxious is the beginning of the easing of some of the restrictions that have been imposed over the past 2 months. So starting most likely next week, we'll see some of the restrictions removed or relaxed. So that means that we'll be having some semblance of normalcy. Shops, restaurants, food shops, and other activities will resume. So that means that there will be certainly exposure to the possibility of infection. But of course, medical authorities want to make sure that once the country reopens, when people go back to normal lives to some extent, the basic principles of social distancing need to be strictly observed in order that we will not invite a resurgence of the virus.
One thing is for sure, in Thailand they have already announced extension of emergency decree for 1 more month, and curfew still to be maintained. And today at the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration of BMA, Executive Committee of BMA has a meeting and has identified 8 business activities that can resume to open again, but they cannot specify exact date of the reopening, but they have outlined 8 business activities that can be functioning again during this lockdown, during this ease of the lockdown. So let's take a look what are the 8 business activities. The first one is restaurants. There are 8 groups of business activity that are reportedly to be allowed to open. The first one is restaurant, Kun Thepchai. It means people can eat in, but seats must be kept about 1.5 meters apart. And regarding alcoholic beverages, it still be banned, and opening hours must follow the emergency decree.
Yeah, this should be a good test of how effective the social distancing measure for eateries will be like, because once the restriction is eased or relaxed, and certainly there will be a lot of people flocking back to the restaurants they're familiar with, food shops they have been eating for years, and of course, there are a set of rules that the proprietors of these places need to observe. That, as Kunatha just mentioned, the proper distancing of clients, and no serving of alcohol, and dine-in is allowed, but of course when the seating must be arranged in such a way that the diners will face the same direction. So these are basic rules that will certainly be a good test as to whether the Bangkokians, because we are talking about the proposal by the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, so Bangkokians will be the first to set example that they can follow these basic rules.
Yes, so these are some details that been reviewed by BMA, but we haven't got any specific date, so it will have to be up to CCSA to make a decision as well, and probably we will hear more details. And let's take a look for other groups of activities that will be allowed to be reopened. The first one was restaurants. The second, markets and wet markets. It means market can sell all the products. And beauty and hair salons will be reopened again. So if we would like to use that service, the service can include cut, wash, dry, and must stop for cleaning and sterilizing every 2 hours. So it means that it cannot be carried on for too long, Kun Thepchai, for barber shops and beauty salons.
Kunatha, we're talking about the market and wet markets. I think these are the heart of Bangkokians' daily livelihood. When people go to these markets to buy stuff, to buy necessities, to buy food. So once these places are open, then we can expect a lot of people flocking there. So observance of strict social distancing will be very, very crucial for these places. And of course, we need to have everyone to watch out whether or not these rules, these principles will be observed.
Yes, markets are like lifeblood of Thai people because we like to eat and shop, especially from street vendors. And medical clinics will be allowed to reopen as well. And let's take a look for the other groups. 4 more type of business to ease restriction. Golf courses, Kun Thepchai, outdoor sports activities. But for outdoor activities, it have to be non-contact sport like walking, running, badminton, tennis, table tennis. But team sports such as football, softball, volleyball, basketball are still prohibited. Also, public parks can be reopened for exercise and rest. However, gathering will not be allowed. Hospital and clinics and nursing homes can be reopened as well. So that are at least 8 groups of activity which can resume in Bangkok metropolitan area, Kun Thepchai.
Okay, let's hope that once things return to normalcy, at least to the extent that we are talking about, the social distancing measures will be observed so that we will not give authorities an excuse that they would need to reimpose all these stringent measures again. So it's very easy. If the number of new infections continue come back to rising again, then it would show that these relaxation of the measures is not working. So I think it's the duty, is incumbent on everyone to make sure that we observe the social distancing measures so that we can really start going back to normalcy again.
First phase of reopening would be very interesting because it will be new normal lifestyle all over the country, not only in Bangkok, but in other areas as well. But regarding Chinese tourist groups, today's spokesperson of CCSA is quite clear that Chinese tourists are still not allowed to enter Thailand, at least for up to a month from now, Kun Thepchai.
Yeah, there have been reports over the past few days that Chinese tourists are knocking on Thailand doors again, wanting to return after the long absence. But these reports have not yet really been officially confirmed whether there has been any concrete or official offer from any particular groups of tourists. But once the news get passed around, and certainly people are getting worried that we will have enough measures to deal with another influx of Chinese tourists. So the question was raised with the spokesman of the CCSA, Dr. Thavisin, today. And Dr. Thavisin made it quite clear that we used to see in the near future. He said, because yesterday, we remember that the Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand has extended the ban on international flights for another 1 month. So that means that in the next 30 days or so, there won't be any arrival of foreigners, either tourists or normal visitors. So what Dr. Thavisin said today, that no return of Chinese tourists for the time being, and he said that you can bet on it. And because the priority for the government is to look after Thai people and to take care of the pandemic, promoting tourism is something that come later. So I think this is quite clear because Kun Thavisin is the spokesman of the CCSA, the body that deals directly with the issues of the pandemic.
That's right, especially when he keeps telling us every day that guards still have to be high in order to protect pandemic in Thailand not to spread further. And especially Thailand, we are still very careful in terms of foreign arrivals and even inbound flights of Thai returnees who want to return to Thailand. Even this, they still have to be checked, have all their documents, have certificate from medical doctors and fit to fly. So for Thai to come to Thailand is still very difficult. That's why for tourists or foreign tourists to come to Thailand at this very juncture is not possible.
On this issue of tourism, ThaiPBS will just talk to the Minister of Tourism, Kun Pipat Ratchakit Prakan, and he made it clear that the pandemic should be an opportunity for Thailand to rethink its tourism policy. He suggested that instead of aiming for numbers, Thailand should target high-end tourists. And he's confident that foreign tourists will start returning to Thailand once the pandemic is over. And he certainly wants to see a new strategy to deal with future tourists. So basically, he's saying that we should not expect to have a large number of tourists as we have been having in the past. And as we all know that the Chinese made up the bulk of foreign tourists in Thailand. Last year, there were almost 40 million foreign tourists in Thailand, and 10 million of them were Chinese. So just imagine how we can deal with this high number of tourists again if we open the door and then allow things to return to normal without any proper measures or any new strategy to deal with the situation.
Yes, because when we talk about tourism industry, it's not only about tourists, Kuntepchai, because there are a whole lot of supply chains of small and medium-sized business to be accommodated with the tourism sector. So I think that they will have to restyle or make the business to really accommodate with this pandemic situation, like social distancing or many restrictive measures probably have to be introduced for tourism industry.